title to have something.
So we are live now. So good evening here from the UK. So welcome to our pages. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're watching live or as a replay. So it's been a long day for me, and after work I've come in and then thought I'll do this live. So today we have a special guest, Lillian, who's also from the UK. But before I go over to Lillian, I thought I'll introduce myself since it'll come on both of our pages. So I'm Dr. Susie Jacob. I'm basically a general practitioner by background, working here in the UK. I am a hands-on clinician as well as I do a bit of management also, and also a proud digital business owner. I live here in the UK with my husband, who's also a business owner along with myself. We do the business together, and
Oh,
have a, and we have a 15-year-old daughter. So over to you, Lillian.
thank you very much for having me, Dr. Susie. I'm so glad to be on your page this evening. So, and hello, lovely viewers. To introduce myself, I am Lillian Oluwakuide, and I'm also in the UK, and I'm a statistician. I work in the public sector as a statistician. I am also a mom of two. I have two kids, 11 and 7, and I'm a digital business owner. My husband doesn't do the business just yet.
Just yes, you after it, because that's the same in my case. So I started the business, and then my husband joined me later. So yes,
Ah,
he he was the skeptical spouse.
oh yeah, yeah. You know
But
what
he's
it
a
is.
believer now because he's seen results.
Yeah, fantastic.
They're always like that. When people see results, you'll be it's it's wonderful to see how from a skeptic they just change over and trying to convince us that, oh, I always believed you could do it. Once the results come, oh, I knew you could always do it.
I know. That's how
Anyway,
it's gonna be. I'm very confident anyway.
yeah, that's the usual story. Anyway, I
Mhm.
can tell you that much. That's the usual story. For me, it's just that I've experienced it firsthand.
Mhm.
So Lillian, a lot of people ask
Yeah,
me why, like, for me, they ask me why as a doctor I've joined the business, which I will share in a minute. But
yeah.
I'm curious to know you, and you're the first statistician I am actually interviewing. Most of the people so far are IT people or doctors and nurses for me so far, and uh, funny enough, I love numbers and I love stats. So just to give, which is a bit unusual, but I do love my numbers.
Mhm.
So why did you decide to actually jump into the online space?
Thank you very much, Dr. Susie, for asking me this question too. I think the easiest way to just put it is to say, from a statistician's perspective, um, the online market is now taking over the world, and I think it would be sad if people don't take advantage of what is happening in the online space. And just to put things into perspective a little bit, before the pandemic, online marketing was not as popular. But in the last couple of years since the pandemic, research has shown that over 85% of businesses are now done online. The uptake on social media is more than tripled. So when you see the numbers, you think to yourself, oh wow, there's something there. The online space has now become a marketplace, an online marketplace. Your horizon, you're not limited anymore, as opposed to doing something on the side where only someone comes to your shop in that area would be able to patronize your business. But that's different from the online space because it's a global market. Anybody anywhere can see whatever it is you're selling, and that expands your business. So I think from my perspective as a statistician, I think that the online market is coming to take over the world. Like honestly, you do not want to be left behind. And it's positive, it's valid, it's real, it's expected to happen. But if more than anything, the pandemic has opened that marketplace. So that is it. That's where it is from my perspective. So I do not want to be left behind. I want to move on with the trend. I want to, make sure that I'm keeping up with the trend, especially as I have young children. So that was why I thought, okay, if I could find something online, that would be great. Although, of course, as with everybody, there are so many things online that makes you become skeptical, like thinking, oh, am I doing the right business? Am I doing the right thing? But yeah, that is my perspective from the statistician's point of view. The numbers are growing. Every time you read articles, you read researches are done. Mobile uptake is doubling. Facebook usage is tripling. The online market space over 85%. A study shown in the US showed that after the pandemic, over 85% of transactions or over 85% of businesses moved online. So that is that from that point of view. But on a personal level, I was looking for something to supplement my income. And I think, again, the pandemic is also a reflective point for me, as with so many other people. I imagine that the time spent at home, people would have had a moment of reflection. And for me, the reflection was more around the situation at the time, which was the COVID pandemic, where people were suddenly losing their lives, which was very sad to see. And it made me think, okay, life can, your life can be cut short at any time. Would you say you have lived? And that's one of the questions I started asking myself. And I thought, I'm not sure I'm ready yet. Of course, no one is ready, but I'm like, I'm not sure I'm in that space where when it comes, I will feel like I've lived my life.
Mhm.
So I just didn't want to continue the 9 to 5 cycle without anything extra. And even if I was going to continue it, at least let me enjoy living. And that for me, enjoying living means traveling, supporting my family, giving my children the best and the best and the best opportunity that money can buy. And, anything anything to just make my life comfortable. So that was the first driver. The second driver was around my income, of course. Income is not growing as quickly as my children are growing. So I needed something to fill in that gap. And the third thing is more around retirement. So I happened to look at my pension. I'm sure you have looked at your pension online. And when I saw my projected pension, leaving everything balanced at this point in time, the projected pension was not what I expected to see. I had envisioned a life of boat cruising, enjoying with my partner. And the price that I saw for boat cruises was quite high. I thought my pension would cover it, but when I looked, it was certainly not going to cover the cost of that. So I thought, oh, something has to change. And that was what made me start to search for what to do. I considered doing property because everyone goes into property, but it's very capital intensive. I do not have the funds to be able to start a property business just yet. And then I started asking, searching around for what to do, praying to God. I'm a Christian, by the way. So I was praying that God, please open my eyes to something that I could do that would not interfere with my life right now. And that's how I stumbled upon this business. So I think that's a summary of my whys.
Oh, wow, wow. And I think you've just summed it up perfectly. And I love what you first said. You were reflecting to think, have I lived? And
Yeah,
that is a question. That is a key question that I think we all ask. Like, from my point of view as a general practitioner, people wonder why I jumped into the online space because
yeah,
when I was doing starting the business, I was working 5 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week, really. So it was not because of money shortage, but what I was short of was time.
fine.
And I missed a lot of my daughter's milestones. I went back from maternity to work full time when she was 10 months. So I never saw her walk first. I
Mm,
missed her first steps because I was doing nights at that time. I was on call doing nights and I missed her first steps. So there were a lot of things. Then in between, I went to retrain. Then I went to retrain as a GP. So, I had a full-time nanny looking after her and I was actually working and studying about 250 miles away from where the rest of my family is. So I used to come every weekend or fortnightly to see. So, and when the pandemic happened, it was a reflective time for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like what you said, like for me as a medical practitioner, it was very real. I was seeing patients face to face at that point in time. Uh, it was very scary. There was a time when, a lot of people of color were dying, especially men of people of color were dying. And I was afraid for my family, afraid that I'd bring the virus home to my
Yeah.
husband.
Mm.
It was a very scary time. And then, I ended up having to do, every day I walk in and it was like someone's died and you have to do a death certificate. It was a very depressing time,
Yeah.
really, really quite depressing, very stressful. And also, it was like an on top of everything during the pandemic. My husband was supposed to start a new job. Of course, he couldn't because then they, introduced the lockdown, and we were on one person's salary. And imagine if I ended up with COVID or had um,
Mm.
that means we would have lost the house because it was just running on my income. It was a very scary thought. And I was like, I never want to be in that situation ever again. And funny enough, like you, I ventured into the property space. I actually ventured into the property space. I was doing it for a while. But what I found is it is not very flexible. I had remember taking annual leave to deal with my property, either for the numbers or to look at the deals or talk to people and things like that, because usually the estate agents are open from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, and I work most of the time during that time. So
Yeah.
it wasn't feasible for me to do anything like that. So I was finding it quite challenging. And another thing is, I don't, unlike our business now where a lot of it runs on automation. For you and me at this point in time, while we are talking, our business is running in the background,
Yeah.
making us money. While that was not in the property. In the property, I had to continuously, I didn't have those systems in place. I was continuously doing all that by myself,
Yeah.
which is a bit more like very, very strenuous to do. um, and then of course I did a bit of crypto. uh, I made some money, I lost some money, let's put leave it at that.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of crypto. You make some, you lose some, and that's how it is. And then of course I was like, no, I need something that's a bit more flexible, bit no more not feeling like I'm gambling with things. And that's when I stumbled upon this opportunity. And I'm glad to say I've been successful. My husband now, about 6 months ago, his job actually. So he does only, sometimes he does for some of his clients freelancing, but that's about it. But otherwise he's not in a permanent, we don't need him to be in permanent employment. So he's a very present dad.
Oh.
uh, School runs everything, he's there and things like that. And he's there because he's a chef, so we have hot food every day, which is
Oh,
great.
wow.
Which is all a luxury, really. So
It is.
all that. And I, from working 5 to 6 days a week, now I work equivalent to 4 days a week. So I've been
Mhm.
able to cut down my sessions. So that is how this business has changed my life. And I am forever grateful. We were able to go on 4 to 5 holidays last year itself. I've never been
Wow.
4 to 5 holidays, including going abroad. So it was fantastic. It was really, really fantastic. And I can say it was all possible because of the business.
This is the business.
Yeah, and yeah. And everyone's happy. Before, I remember a time when I used to work long hours. Now even the type of work I've done is a bit different, so I don't do a very long hours. Before, sometimes I go into work at 8:30 and I have come back home at 8:30. And usually like 7, and that was all the norm. But now I'm back home by 5:45, maybe 6, which is great. Compared to before, I'm in control of my work.
Mhm.
And I've been able to do all that just because I can play the shot, saying that if I'm not allowed to do this, I will quit. So my contract was changed a bit
Right.
because of that. And I had the confidence to do that because I was earning on the side.
Wow, that is inspiring.
Yeah,
That
and
is really
what you were
inspiring.
talking about pension. Did you know the average pension, yearly pension of a person in the UK at the moment is about £15,000 a year? Can you
That
imagine?
translates to about 1,200 a month. I did
Yeah,
the math. I did a back of the envelope mathematics, and
yeah,
I thought,
yeah, and you know, and you, how can you live on 15,000? Yes, people would then argue, oh, you would have paid out for the house, but
but they forget inflation. They
exactly,
forget inflation.
exactly. You can't live in the UK, in London, especially. You can't. The average person earns about £28,000, and
Yeah.
that itself, people are struggling. They just
Mhm.
got, and when we say Londoners, most of them don't live in central London because you just can't afford central London. You
Yeah,
just can't afford central London. It's too expensive,
it
and
is.
and no one saves anything even so. What are you going to do with £15,000 a year? Nothing.
Nothing. And that's the problem. See, there's inflation, and recently, especially since the pandemic, in the aftermath of the pandemic, I've seen a lot of older people working,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that bothered me. Like, I actually had a conversation with one of them. Why are you here? I thought you look like, sorry, you look like you should have retired. And they were like, well, the pension can't sustain me. I have a mortgage to pay. I know that person is peculiar because perhaps maybe in their working life they had remortgaged several times to meet some needs, but technically he was still working and he's supposed to be retired. Some of them work because of company, but I think more nowadays, many of them go back to work because they cannot afford to live on their pension. And
Mhm.
that's really worrying. And when I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be this. I want to be retired and be enjoying myself.
Yeah.
So it's every day I think about it and I'm motivated to keep going, like to keep growing my business and keep, you know, do what I have to do because I know that this is a fantastic opportunity. And even if you come in or when you come in, you're going to have to put in the hard work. Anyone that decides to start this business, there's a lot of work involved, as with any other thing. But over time, you begin to yield results. And I suppose one of the things many people keep asking is, oh, how soon can I see something? How soon can I see a change? How soon can I? It doesn't work that way. It's just like you go to school. When you go to school, you have to spend 4 years at school, for God's sake, like 3 years or 4 years, depending on the course, and even as a doctor, maybe even longer. So
Absolutely.
why do
That's what
you
I tell people. That's what I tell people. Even, I get doctors. I have my most of the people under me are doctors in my team. So
yeah.
some of the people, I mean, a lot of people queries I get from doctors, and they ask the same thing. So when do you start earning money? And I'm like, well, we went to medical school for 5 to 6 years. So that means
Yeah.
5 to 6 years you didn't earn anything. And
Mhm.
the first year after medical school, you earn, the basic salary is £22,000. Now, if you were to have nights and things like that, it might go up to 28, 30. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if you're living in London, you're not even getting any return of investment at all. Forget about that. And then imagine, per year you gave into university £9,000. Yeah. Yeah. And most of the junior doctors who come out from uni now are in debt of £80,000. You don't
Okay.
even earn 80,000 in the first few years. To
Yeah.
earn that much, you'd be like maybe, 6 7 years down the line.
The line. Yep.
So you can see, probably if you work full time, that sort of money, maybe 6 7 years down the line, maybe. And that too, if you work full time. Most people don't, because they end up having children, family, and they can't work that much. So you're having all this 80,000 debt, and you're asking, when can you start? So I say, before you start earning, you'll have to learn. Now, how quickly you learn is entirely up to you. There are people who've started making money the
Mhm.
first week. There are people who started making money in a month. I personally started seeing,
Yep.
I tell them, see, my experience, I was working 5 to 6 days a week and I started making money
Yep.
from month three. But that too by working 5 to 6 days a week. And now, if you are a full time mom and if you're at home all the day and you can spend 12 hours a day,
Um,
maybe within 2 weeks you start making money. Maybe. I
yep.
didn't have that luxury. I had to come back from work, then spend time, 1 hour a day, to actually go through the stuff. And so it took me 3 months. But that too because I was consistent. I used to come back tired and I used to put in the work. But for me, it was like instead of wasting time scrolling, and watching Facebook as entertainment, what I do now is
Yeah.
I use it to make money. I still scroll
Yeah.
Facebook, I still do all those things, but I do with an intention to make money. That's the biggest difference.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what people need to understand, that the opportunity that we are presenting to them is not an opportunity where they will get returns immediately.
Yeah.
There is a lot of work to be put in, and they need to be willing to learn to put those work in to be able to yield an income. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
you've summarized it all.
Yeah,
That's just basically
it's
it.
what you put in is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
And you have to be persistent and consistent. If you are persistent and consistent, you will definitely see the results. You will see the
Yes.
fruit of your labor, definitely.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so Lillian, we've come to the end of our talk today. Is
Yeah.
there any last words you'd like to tell our audience?
Yes. Hopefully, you've learned a lot or you are inspired by our individual stories. But what I would just say to you, if you're still sitting or still thinking, oh, I'm not sure, just take action, just do it. Um, you never really know what is in this business or how the business operates from the outside. So just take that first step, come in and find out more for yourself. And then when you find out more, you can decide to continue or not. But at least you'll be making your decision from a place of knowledge, from a place of understanding. There's no point sitting down, sitting on the other side and dilly dallying and thinking, oh, this is not real. I'm not sure. Come in, see, find out for yourself, ask your questions, do your due diligence, and then decide if you want to go forward or not. And it's really your business, it's not ours. We are here sharing the opportunity. It's your choice. Is You're going to be your own boss. You are going to manage your business. If you decide to join today, you're not joining because of me. You're joining because you want to start your own business. So it's really, really, really up to you to make that decision. And there's no better time than to make that decision now. Do not let your fear hold you back. Allow your fear to propel you to taking action. And that's what I would say for tonight.
Absolutely. It doesn't cost anything to find out. It is a free webinar. Then check it out. It doesn't cost you. And what if you would have lost the opportunity of your lifetime? If I was wondering, oh my God, if I had given this opportunity a pass, my life would have been completely, I would have still been struggling,
Yeah.
trying to pay my bills, living paycheck to paycheck. And I never want to go back to that position again. So thank you very much, Lillian. So if anyone wants to know more about this business, just contact us wherever you're watching, whether in Lillian's page or my page. We'll be
Yep.
more than happy to guide you. So thank you once again, Lillian, and God bless
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank
Take
you for
care.
having me.
No
Bye.
worries. Take care. Bye bye now. Bye.